Hey everybody, warmer days are upon us. That means a few things. Evals may be here. You might be looking at spring hockey, might be even looking forward to summer hockey. When it gets to the off season, I always like to present you with alternative options to just being on the ice all the time because you deserve a break too. And what we do in my house for my son, who's a goalie, and my daughter, who's a skater, is use NHL Sense Arena, our title sponsor, as many of you know. And they just launched a new goalie mindset training with Pete Fry, which is all about building composure, focus, and emotional control that goalies need in big moments. And then for the skaters, they've really updated Dangle Pro with full ice scanning. So now you're not just standing still stick handling in isolation. You're handling the puck while scanning, making reads, and training your awareness like you would in a real game. And again, this uses mixed reality. So you're actually stick handling with your real stick and a puck. You can see it around virtual objects. It's super fun and it's super nuts. We shared some videos with that. I wish I had that as a kid. Check these deals out. They're offering 50% off an annual plan compared to paying monthly. Plus, you get a free hockey training ball, a free green biscuit, and free shipping on that. Or if you go all in with a 2-year subscription, you can get a new MetaQuest 3S headset for $100. That's $900 in savings. I have never seen them offer the headset for that price. So if that's what's been holding you up, this is the time to get it because it all is going to add up. All right. Head to nhl.sensearena.com/OKPH and use the promo code OKPH to save an additional $25 on top of the offers I've already mentioned. We have always loved NHL Sense Arena's belief in us and what we do as a show, and we always appreciate your belief in us as well. This is a great deal. Go check it out. And as always, enjoy this episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome back to another edition of Our Girls Play Hockey. It's Lee Elias with Hayley Scamurra and Mike Benelli today, and it's another fan mail episode. We got a really great letter from one of you out there about hockey, and I always say this on Our Girls Play Hockey. Obviously, this letter is about a young lady who plays hockey in a family, but the topic today will apply to every hockey family. And lucky for you, we brought in a gold medalist every episode to do that. She's super qualified. Mike and I are just schmoes, okay? But when you play for Team USA and win a gold medal, and we're gonna milk that, Hayley, for like 17 years, or however long we do the podcast. Either way, we're on here for you. So we're happy to see you here today, both Mike and Hayley. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna dive right in the letter. So for those of you at home, I'm gonna read this letter that we got, and then the three of us are gonna dive into a lively discussion about it. So here we go. All right. My daughter will be entering her second year of 10U hockey. She plays on an all-girls team and has been with this same group since her first year of 8U. Before her second 8U season, the club invited her to play up with the 10U girls to help establish the team. We agreed, and it turned out to be a great experience. She loved it and made significant development gains. I should say real quick before I keep reading, in girls hockey, jumping up in age level is not as uncommon as you think. In boys hockey, we don't see this too often. But in girls hockey, it does happen from time to time. All right. This past season, she again played 10U and continued to progress. Now the club has announced a change. Dun, dun, dun. That was my best sound effect. They're combining with 3 other organizations to form 2 12U and 2 14U girls teams. This decision was made without parent input and will require girls from our club to commute to another city multiple nights a week. Normally, this wouldn't affect us. Yet, since my daughter has another year of 10U, however, it's been communicated that she's likely to be invited to play up at 12U. The coach would be the same one she's had and grown up with, which is appealing, but the commitment would involve, get ready for this, a 2-hour round-trip commute and late nights. With work schedules, winter weather, and no carpool options, this feels like a lot for a 9-year-old. Our options seem to be, 1, stay at 10U, either by choice or roster availability. 2, play co-ed through our organization though our organization strongly promotes girls hockey and we're unsure if she'd get a fair evaluation. Or 3, accepting the 12U opportunity, knowing it would place a significant burden on family logistics. We're not worried about her ability or future development. She'll be okay wherever she plays. She's also happy with any option. She just wants to play hockey. This isn't about FOMO. We're simply trying to make the best choice for her hockey development and her overall well-being. And I'll say this. He does add this, which I think is a pretty important wrinkle here. He says, I'm also not sure if, and maybe you can discuss on the podcast, would it be a good idea to have her work with a new coach? If she stays playing with the 10-year-olds, she will have a new coach, whether it's co-ed or girls only. I had said before with the 12-year-old team The coach is a really great coach, has really helped her develop her game over the last few years, so I don't know if that's also a factor to consider. Thanks again so much. I look forward to listening to this episode. Love the podcast. So 2 main questions here, gang. One is helping this person decide on what program they're going to go to next year, and then also a conversation about just having a great coach and staying a goalie. Hayley, let's throw it to you right away. Right, in the letter she said, she just wants to play hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Like your thoughts on this? I think that's a good thing to hear, right?
Absolutely. I think that kind of can help make this decision maybe a little bit easier if she really just wants to play hockey, and you kind of go off of her and see what she's feeling, what she's maybe more excited about. And that might help you guys kind of like steer that conversation and figure out what the best fit might be.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's always important. Like, first off, great letter. I didn't say this is a really good letter, right? Anytime people write this type of stuff, I love it because it's like these are actually the right questions to be asking. And this is, in a weird way, a good problem to have. All right. Anytime you're being offered multiple teams and situations, you're actually in a pretty good situation. Especially like we're recording this in April. During we call it silly season, during evals and tryout time period, where people are looking for a team because they weren't selected. So the fact you have 3 options is a good one. I think the other thing we've got to say here, and this is my starting point for any of the listeners that might be in this situation. What does your kid want? What does your kid want to do? All right. I think often I ask that and I get back, I haven't asked him or her yet. Ask your kid what they want. This is their journey, right? And they might be real clear. Look, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to stay in town. I don't want to travel 2 hours a night. Or adversely, they might say, look, I'm up for the challenge, Dad, Mom, I'm up for it. But you got to ask them. I would never assume they're too young to have a say in that decision. Now, again, they're not going to understand what a 2-hour drive is for you. All right. But I think you need that input, right? Mike, I'll throw it to you on that. You drive all over the tri-state area. You know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I think first of all, I commend them for even looking at the question and trying to figure out like what the alternatives might be without being pressured to do one thing over another. Like, okay, What are our options? And are we stuck going in one place or the other? But I think the ability to ask your child, I think in this case, because the player's so young, it's not more about like, what do you want to do? But like, okay, what is your experience with the older girls and the younger girls? And what do you like about this? And what do you don't like about it? And then as a family, then you can start weighing, okay, commute, coach over this coach, budget, girls with boys, girls with girls. Like you can always do all those things. But I think first you have to have, like you kind of mentioned, right, as a baseline of, what is the player thinking? What does she like about the environment that she in? And then if I'm pulling her out of this environment, is it going to adversely affect her and our family? So you got to look at all those kind of things because they all are equally important in weighing how we're going to, forecast this opportunity to move to another level.
Yeah, I think, too, we got to talk about Mike and Hayley here, too, that, it comes down to what does your kid truly want. And I think that at 10 years old, it's really about love and fun of the game. I think that's got to be your focus. And we get these questions a lot, Hayley, on all the episodes about, well, what's best for their development? What's best for their competitive nature? I don't know if at 10, that's actually where the focus should be. I think the question should be, where are they going to go where they're going to fall in love with this game even more? Hayley, again, with you and your journey, when did you start? It's not take it seriously, but when was it the point where you and your family were like, hey, look, you know what? We should travel for you at this point because you're showing signs that you're going to be an Olympian one day.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that actually because I have a lot of familiarity with the driving part of it, and not myself personally, but my dad did the drive. We didn't really start getting into that kind of commuting until I was in high school, sophomore year of high school. So to be honest, like thinking about doing what I did as a high schooler as a 9-year-old, I'm not going to be honest, I don't think I'd recommend it. Like it was exhausting. I was running on fumes. It was really difficult. And honestly, like had no social life, had just school and hockey. And that was all I had time for, honestly. So I wanted to put that in perspective for sure. But yeah, I mean, at 9 years old, like the point is like they're with teammates that they enjoy being around. They're having fun at the rink. Yeah, maybe they're getting better and things like that, but I think the focus has to be the fun and love of the game.
Yeah, 100%. And another thing, Haley, we should say this too. We don't talk about this a lot, but like your father is not exactly someone who has not traveled, right? He played in the
Right.
NHL. He knows what this travel is like.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing that up because like for him to make that commitment with you in the car, like he knows exactly what he's getting into at that point. And the fact that you didn't do that together until high school, that's a pretty qualified answer, is what I'm trying to say right now.
Yeah, because he wanted. He wanted me
to
to go to prep school, and I was like, I don't really want to go to prep school. And I'm like, well, we can drive to Canada, 5 days a week. And so it was an hour and a half drive each way. So it was a lot. Yeah, I don't know how he did it, if I'm being honest. I would just pretend to sleep in the car the whole time, so I wouldn't have to hear stuff about the practice. But he gives me a hard time for that. But yeah, it was difficult.
I can tell you as a father that it's worth it. You say, how he does it. I know exactly how he did it, because the love we have for our kids makes it very, very tolerable, easy. It's not easy, but there's something there. It's like,
Well, you just do what you got to do. And I think Haley, you mentioned, you probably wouldn't have done this. Now you're probably in a different environment because of where you grew up, that you did have a lot of competition at an early age. So at 9 years old, you were probably, whether you were with boys, girls, or whatever, like you probably didn't have to go seek out an hour and a half, 2 hour commute because of the competition level within your own community. So it sounds like even here that exists. It sounds like there is a competitive option in the community that they're in. So, it's not like, you're all of a sudden they extract you, they extract the opportunity to have any competition. And then you do have to look at, okay, my God, like she really likes hockey and I like hockey and we want them to play, and we've got to start to look to travel. But me, like as a hockey director and as a parent, then I start looking at, okay, well, what are your options? And, that's kind of, where we're discussing this as far as what do you now have to weigh over the carrot of, okay, she's going to get to play with the same coach on the 12U team. Because there's a lot of other things in there that you can extract, from that time. And again, I get the whole. I love, I don't hear this all the time. Like, you see it on whatever, advertising or things that the people put out about like the time spent with your child. And travel hockey is worth it, right? That you're in the car with them for hours and hours on end. But I don't know. My personal experience is when I see that, and again, there's a little bit of it, right? But most of the time, it's the kids with the headphones on and their iPhone. It's not like you interacting with them, for 3 hours in the car all the time. So you got, it's just. But again, there is that bond. That's why hockey does, get that kind of special notice about what you do as a family to get you where you have to get to. But I think in this case, there is a great opportunity now to weigh the pros and cons.
Yeah, great points, Mike. I mean, like, here's the deal. I want to answer this guy's question, but I'm going to preface this right now. This is a like on paper answer. Okay. Like, I don't know your child. I don't know the logistics of the situation fully. On paper, I would not make that trip. I would not make a 2 hour multiple night trip. And I'll tell you why. It's not even just the time in the car. I'm taking into account what Hayley said a minute ago, which I think is really important. Your social life's going to be gone. That team will be your social life. Not saying that's the end of the world. All right. But I think at 9, you need other things. The other thing too is this. Let's just say that's a 2 games, 2 practice thing a week, right? You're talking 2, 4, 6, 8 hours gone in the car. Now, again, you might have conversations, you might listen to music, or you might be on screen the whole time. My question to people always is, what could you do in those 8 hours that you're not going to be doing? All right. And again, a lot of this comes down to the person, the player. I'm not saying she needs to be training for 8 extra hours or anything like that. I'm saying, could she be seeing friends, going to other places? Could you guys do other things together? Is that your family dinner time? Does she have siblings? There's 100 questions that come up with this. On paper, I don't see the advantage of traveling out there for that. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm just saying, well, Hayley mentioned it earlier. I mean, the sacrifice she made at as a teenager. Right. And one of the things I think we have to just, really approach at this is that when your daughter is 9 and she's growing and they're in school and, forget about the social life. Say you didn't care about anybody else. Like you just wanted your kid to make it to the PWHL, play college hockey. It still wouldn't be the right choice, in my opinion. Like not getting rest, not keeping up with academics, not eating. It's almost impossible to eat properly. Like you're just on the road and you're picking things up and even if you plan things out, it's just adding all these layers that you can add to your development in a positive way by not traveling.
Right.
If the option's there, and again, this sounds like the option is there, in a couple of different ways outside of the quote unquote playing up.
Yeah, I gotta say this too. Like, I mean, Hayley, I don't like to play the hypothetical game, but like you talked to me about how you did this in high school. Like,
Yeah.
Is it possible you would have burnt out of hockey if you had done this at 9?
100%.
Yeah.
I like looking back, I truly do not know how I personally did it, like on any sort of level. And if I had done that at that young of an age, I would have burned out for sure. Actually,
Yeah.
though, I just remembered though, I did do another kind of commute and I was probably, I want to say 12. It would have been before high school. I just remembered this, so this is funny.
Yeah.
I played for the Rochester Edge. So I was in Buffalo. We would drive to Rochester. Again, that was probably it. It was probably a 2-hour commute. I bet you it was.
Yeah.
Total, because it was an hour each way. And that was tricky, but we did have a family who was also from the Buffalo area. So we would sometimes switch carpool wise.
Right.
And that was helpful. But that was a girls' team that I was a part of with this girl who I grew up with playing hockey. That was my second all girls experience, I believe, or maybe the first. It's kind of hard to remember looking back, but that was a lot of driving for sure. But again, like I think I was excited about it. I was with a friend. I knew girls on the team. It was a really good girls program and I wanted to do it. But again, I wasn't 9. I was definitely older because it was when I first started girls hockey. So I think I was maybe 12 is my guess.
And again, that's typically the age where we start having that conversation about playing with other girls and things like that.
And I wonder, I'm assuming based off of who you are today, that you were probably one of the better girls at your level in Buffalo. Like, I'm sure there was like, okay, well, I'm the best girl in this age group right now here. I'm going to go with a whole bunch of other really good girls. Yeah. Compliment myself. And again, this girl maybe she's the best girl at the 12U team too. I don't know. But if you're not, like the temptation to like, that's where I would say, well, Hayley, you got, this is maybe at 12 is where you need to keep cutting that competition and driving that competition to make you better. At 9, unless you're just so much better than everyone else that that you're bored, then there's a less of a good argument to do it.
I'm going back to the letter here, like just analyzing this now. It says again, the club has announced a change. They're combining with 3 other organizations to form 2 12U and 2 14U girl teams. I wish we had more information on why that's happening. They also said here too that they didn't even ask the parents. So now this could be a few reasons why they're doing this. One is they don't have the participation and they have to do it to kind of keep a team together. There's also a scenario here where they're just trying to make super teams, which is not great, right? Because now you're excluding people. I don't know which one it is just from the letter. Okay.
Yeah, but I think other than all of that set aside, if we're just talking about hockey players, forget girls, boys, whatever, going 2 hours in your age group is just at 9. There really isn't a really lot of good arguments to make that it's a good thing because if the end game is to get somewhere with this other piece, there's so many other things you could be doing for your development that take place outside your house, like that, like literally, can be done within a 5-minute ratio where you are. If in fact this is your goal, ultimate goal is to get somewhere. There's so many other options to do it without getting in the car for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours.
I was going to play devil's advocate here in the funny sense of if I believe that if this team that's being created was like a super elite level team, which by the way, don't really exist at this age. But if that was the case, he didn't say it in the letter, which makes me think it's not. It's just a new 12U team, right? Which again, I said devil's advocate that further kind of supports the point of like I don't see the advantage here, right? Like for all the parents listening, and this is when you're older. This isn't 9 years old. Like I always joke, the only team I'd probably really travel like crazy for is if like the USA National Development Program called up and said we've selected your daughter as a potential candidate for Team USA. If that ever happened, I'll take that phone call. All right. Actually, I'll hand it to my daughter, to be fair. All right. That's not happening at 9. All right. It's just not. So, and again, just to kind of bring this back, the father's not saying that's happening. I'm not going there with this. I'm trying to create at least a little bit of a gauge here of like when it might be worth having those conversations. Hayley, I should turn to you here. Like when the national team started looking at you, how old were you at that time?
24.
Right. Look, that's a super fair thing. Like out of college, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, that's when that stuff happens. Right.
Yeah.
And like, I was hoping you'd say something
24.
Like that.
You're killing everybody here.
Well, some girls had opportunities earlier, obviously.
Right, but
like there's an 18U team to make and stuff, but not 9.
Yeah, but
not
teen is after the age, right?
Not
yes.
at 9, not at 10, not at 11, not at 12. I know it is getting younger. I mean, let's admit it, starting to like creep in, right? All of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, a 12-year-old phenom. I'm going to try to get her to go to this academy or go to this area or move to this state. But for the most part, across the board, you just want your kid to love going to the rink and love playing hockey. And I think we talk about this a lot on any show. Is that you're interviewing your child, right? And then you're interviewing kind of your family. And then you're weighing the pros and cons of, well, why would we do this?
Right.
And then we have to take out the FOMO piece of, well, everyone else is saying we've got to do it. Like, what are you crazy? You need to do this. Like, you're crazy not to do it. And that's where you always have to say, well, am I crazy not to do it? Like, I think I'm actually being sane. So it all depends on, where you're at.
I think too, we got to say, look, going back to it, you got to focus on your kid. Number one. Are they excited to do it or willing to do it? If they're willing to do it, that's not a good answer. Like you want them to be excited for an opportunity like that. Number one. Number two, parents, do you have the bandwidth? Do you have the time, the energy, the money to be doing that? If it's going to put a massive stress on your family, do not do it. It's not going to play out the way that you want it to play out. It's going to hurt, and you're going to have less time with your family. Look, we're not the show to talk about like marriages and relationships, but it's going to strain those a lot. All right. If you're not in the house for 4-6 hours a week, a day for these practices, that's going to put a strain on your relationships.
No, it might help. Depends on where you're at. But I think it's that, but I think it's just but I think, Hayley is I think really the best person to kind of hear from this, only because she's in the room with all these other women that all experience the exact same thing. Like they all have to make choices at some point to leave. Like there's very, very few. Hayley, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there really anybody on the Olympic team currently that even started out just playing girls hockey? Probably not. So this phenomenon of only girls hockey at 8 and 9 years old is really new. Like and I think with this organization, like they're mentioning in the letter, the fact that they're combining all these teams, whether they're trying to make a super team or they're just trying to stay alive and keep a program together for girls, like says that's a whole nother conversation. Like why isn't this region able to field a full girls team anyway? Right. Like, so that's a whole other thing. But the fact that you're playing girls up and you're combining groups and now you're like all these other things, there might be a whole other view at looking at this region and saying, well, why is the region not able to sustain girls, a 15-person girls roster at 9-10 years old? That's a whole other situation. But I think, but for Hayley, right? I mean, these girls that you're working with now and playing with now and competing with now, they didn't have the choice just to play girls hockey. So like, it's a hard argument to say, like, if there was elite girls hockey when you were 8, you probably would have done that. I mean, I don't know.
It is crazy to think about. I think I would say majority of the girls played boys first. I think the only ones I can think of were maybe some of the Minnesota girls that said they had girls hockey growing up. And I was like, that is a wild concept. Like, I don't even think that was an option until 12U for myself. So it was always co-ed teams or basically boys teams with 1 or 2 girls at most. So it's obviously, I love that there's decisions to make in that sense. I think that is like a huge, obviously like accomplishment and like a testament to the growth of women's hockey and all of those fun things. So I'm kind of glad you have this decision and choice to make in a way.
I was going to say, Hayley, you're part of the paradox here, is because if you guys keep winning gold medals, women's hockey is going to keep expanding we'll have to keep having these conversations, which is the greatest thing ever. I do want to have I'll keep talking here about the situation, really dissect this, right? So obviously one of the options is about playing up. So I to a higher age group. I mentioned that in the open. So I do want to have a quick discussion. This is more generic. It's not so much about the letter, about playing up versus staying put. I'm going to say it again. In girls hockey, it's a little more commonplace to have girls play up to a higher age group. Sometimes it's based on the availability. Sometimes it's based on talent. But I want to talk about, should there or should there not be pressure on young kids to play up if they can, and if so, what age does that really matters? Like, Hayley, I want to ask you, like, obviously confidence plays into this. Again, does the player want the challenge? You always got to ask the player. That might be the positive side of it, but it can hurt too if you get overwhelmed or you're not confident, right? Like, have you had experience with this in your journey?
I actually don't think so for myself personally. I'm trying to remember. I don't really remember what age groups I played for when I started girls hockey. I want to say they were age appropriate. I don't think I ever went up in age group. I really don't think I did. Because by that time I played in Canada where it was like junior hockey, if you will.
Right.
And so it was just any high school age. So I guess technically that could have been jumping up, just because there would have been 18-year-old girls in that league and things like that. So that's like a really interesting kind of point. I think a big factor, I think, depends on the age and when you're jumping up. Like, obviously, if you're like in middle school and the girls are in high school, that's totally different social wise, that I think should definitely be a factor that you would consider. Because it's not just playing up, like, they're going to be a little bit bigger and stronger, but it's like they're like socially, that's completely different levels, I think.
Yeah.
And might not be as comfortable.
Like 9 to 12.
That's a big jump.
That's a big for young girls.
Yeah.
I'll say this too, just to give perspective, like in Philadelphia, how it works. And again, everybody knows, or full disclosure, I guess, I coach a 10U girls team, and we're allowed to roster 2 8U players on the team. We're allowed to. We don't have to. All right. But what's crazy about that, and again, this is not directed at any families. It's just the mentality is I had a lot of 8U kids trying out for the team, under the assumption of, well, he can take her, so we should do it. And I talked to each one of those. I'm proud of this. I talked to each 8U parent individually, because I did not take most of them, to have a conversation of, we don't need to rush your daughter to this level. The players that I'm choosing to take are very ready for this. They're showing me the acumen for it, the hockey IQ for it, the skill sets for it. More importantly, they want to do this. I know the kid wants this and they're ready for it. All right. I think your daughter needs to work on her skating a little bit more. The worst thing I can do is put her at this level where she's not going to be able to keep up. That's going to stunt her growth. But like, I'm amazed I'm having a conversation, not that it's unfair, but of like, I actually should not have to convince you that you should stay at the appropriate age level for your daughter. That's exactly where she should be right now.
And it's so funny because hockey is more. There's a lot more of this in hockey. It really is. You don't see it in other sports that have deeper benches, like deeper opportunity to play, because like that's all, Hayley, you mentioned it. Like when you go to high school, outside of hockey, you go play football or lacrosse or volleyball, you probably don't play as a freshman and a sophomore. Like if you're a freshman playing high school sports, it's like you're in the paper every day. Like this is crazy. Like this is not like it's not natural not to develop within. Again, there are kids that can play as 14-year-olds on high school teams and 15-year-olds with 18-year-olds. But for the mass, the bigger majority, like you see a football team, a high school football team, it's just, you're like, okay, yeah, juniors and seniors make the varsity team and the other guys play JV. Like it's a more of a natural progression. But in hockey, I think it's because, maybe we just don't have enough kids yet, is that all of a sudden it's like, well, we'll take everyone. Like, and still today, like there'll be a time very quickly, very soon, that women's hockey will even start to break up by year of birth teams, as far as, instead of 14U and 12U, it'll be 13U and 12U and 11U and 10U. It just doesn't exist right now because there just aren't enough girls in those age groups. And even because at the boys, that's really where, now they have 13U nationals. It's just 13U. Like that's the only kids in that group can be 13U in that
another
age.
For the other audience. Like, I've also seen like 13O, 13 only,
or only, or that. Probably it's probably
yeah.
it's probably not even using the right terminology.
No, it's okay. I'm here for you, Mike.
You think I would know that? But it's just you're just in these situations where if you're getting, like, to me, like, some of the red flags for me is, okay, we got to combine teams, we got to play players up. That's an unhealthy organization in my eyes. Like, I'm thinking, going, oh well, there's like I call me up. I want to see where that organization is. I want to dig in a little bit deeper as why you're having these issues, because it's really not a healthy place. And then on top of it, I mean, just to go back to the playing up piece and the benefits and not, like, so you're really just kicking the can down the road for your player, right? If you play up this year, next year you got to go through like, if the whole idea of playing up is to stay with the coach, stay with your friends, stay in the comfort zone, next year you're still not playing up because those people are leaving. Like the kids that are on the up team, they're moving up, and you can't just keep moving. I mean, you could, I guess, but in most of the time you're not going to keep moving up. So at some point you are going to get a new coach, you are going to get new teammates, you are going to be in a different environment. So just learn to work with that within your age category. And I think any development person would agree that, first be the best person in your age group.
Right.
Be the best person in your age group. And then let's talk about how do you become the best person in somebody else's age group.
Yeah, I want to say this too. Like, in two parts of this. The second half is going to be a question for you, Hayley. But, like, Mike, you brought up kind of how the organizations grow in girls hockey. Like, another thing I had to keep in mind when I was picking my team is if I take too many 8U players, I might seriously actually hurt our 8U program.
Yeah.
Because I'm taking two of the probably better players from our 8U program.
Right.
Right. And like, that could distract the team. They might not do well. Then more people don't come in. Like, I have a responsibility as a coach in this organization to have a healthy mite program. Right. And it's like, I want the parents to understand that. Like we're hurting the game if we rush anybody up. No matter what you think, whether you think they're ready or not, it's like, that's my decision.
Well, parents' job is not to think, like, that's your job. Like to me, like when I coached prep school hockey, and I had kids that were 8th, 9th graders that were better than some of my seniors. They weren't, but we kept them at the JV level for other reasons other than their skill. Like, that kid has to go in the locker room and be subject to the kids that aren't that good.
Yeah.
Like, just ripping this kid apart and not letting him succeed, not letting him be the leader of the team, not, almost being jealous. And to your point, diminishing the other team that he can be a big part of helping grow. And that's the job of the director. That's the job of the program person. That's the job of the person who's trying to grow the youth program, is to say, like, we want your kids to succeed, but guess what? Your kid's going to succeed, and we're going to make it better for them. Well, and we're going to help develop the program for them to be a part of.
I also, on that line of thought, I don't want these families thinking that, I always should be playing up. And that's what happens. So I played up last year, I should play again next year, play up next year. It's like, that's not the way it works. I know a whole team. Look, I'm not going to call this crazy. I'll say we have to see how this plays out. I know a whole 10U team that is still 10U age move the whole team up to 12U. The whole team. Because they won their championship last year. Right. And I'm sitting here like, what are you doing? Right? Guess what? The organization has no 10U team now. And I'm like, this is not going to be good for the development of your organization. That's going to eat itself alive. And what is the appeal of going up a whole age group? What is it better? I'm going to have better competition. Harness the competition at the appropriate age group. Like I don't know. That kind of stuff really freaks me out. I will say again, we will see how that goes. It's not my team. It's another team in my area. I will see how it goes. Maybe they will have a fantastic season, and that was going to be the right decision for that group and those kids. Okay. Yeah. Hayley, this is where I want to bring it back to you. All right. Mm-hmm. I know you said you didn't really play up, but you are the expert here. What are some of the questions maybe it's so hard to do, like at 9, 10, 11, 12, what are some of the questions you think, not 9-year-old Hayley, but what are the questions you think the kids maybe should be asking themselves about the opportunity of playing up versus playing co-ed versus playing at the appropriate age level?
Like, what questions you would ask, like, the child at 9 years old? Like, if they wanted to go up or stay with their age group.
I think we want to look at it from like the parent perspective, like you just said.
Yeah.
And then also like, what should the kid be thinking? Like the kids look up to you, right? Like what should they be looking at?
For the kids, I think 9 years old, I think the biggest one is like, where are you going to have the most fun?
Right.
Like maybe like who's like your age group, where your friends are. Like, I just think that has to be prioritized at that age. I really do. I think focusing too much on like the development and like, oh, it's like the best coach in the area. Like, okay, like let's calm down. Like they're 9 years old. Like, I think, and like, let's say they're not the greatest coach in the world. They're still going to have fun, most likely. They're going to be with people that are their age and be able to like do sleepovers and hang out. Like if you're doing that drive and going to play up with the girls, like are you having those kind of like big social moments that are key at that age that are like core memories for those kids? So I just feel like that has to be the number one question is like, where are they going to have the most fun?
Now, see, I'm glad we asked her that, Mike, because you and I have been saying that for years, but I'm going to be honest with you, Hayley, coming from you, it actually is way more cool to hear. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
No, I'm just wondering, like, if you're thinking about a 9-year-old, it's development, right? And you're talking about like having fun. It's just like, but you can have like that is the fun part, like developing, right? That's the fun part is like having little goals and reaching them. And I think, and maybe you could talk about this a little bit about like what are some strategies then if I'm a parent that wants to keep my kid in a place that maybe is not the highest level and doesn't have the Olympic coach coaching my 9-year-old team, which I don't know what they're going to be able to do. Like, what are they going to do that makes me better? Like to your point, just, they're having fun and they love coming to the rink and they enjoy it. And it's kind of a really good atmosphere. But what other things like would you want to see in a 9-year-old that's not being driven by the parent, but driven by a driven athlete at that age?
That's a great question,
doing?
Mike.
Like, what are they doing?
I mean, I think, in the practices themselves, like I think competition can obviously be fostered. I think teamwork can be fostered, communication with your teammates, different things like that being put into focus that'll allow them to grow as a person, as a player, as they grow older in the programs. And I think doing that in the appropriate age group is probably the best way to do it because you're with kids who are of similar age and mindset and things like that. And you can really learn from each other and grow and, learn how to communicate with your teammates. I think that's like one of the great things about hockey is that it's a team sport and you need everyone and you have to learn how to work with people.
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun too to see like when you talk about that, like we get that question a lot. Like, is my child going to be held back because they're so much better than everyone else? And the fact is, no, actually you can expand what they're learning. Like all of a sudden they can be doing things that they normally wouldn't ever get to do. I was having this conversation with a player 2 days ago that was just so much better than everyone else on the ice and could go down and score at will, basically. Yeah. And I'm like, well, what's really hard? Go down, delay, find a lane, hit somebody backdoor, try to feed somebody that would never ever get the puck, but learn to put the pass on their stick at a speed that they can handle. Like these are all unbelievable things that you can't learn in a practice because it's not real competition. Like, but when you're so much better at that age, you can now layer in all these other challenges that the player can grow from. And honestly, what is 5-6 months of your life really going to do? I mean, really, how much is it going to change the trajectory of your life if, in fact, you just worked on a different skill set outside of the pure, I got to play with the best kids and win a bunch of games?
Well, you're bringing up such a good point, Mike. And Hayley, I'll use you as an example here because not just because you're here, but we know you a bit now. Like Hayley's game, I mean, you kind of just described it here about time and space and understanding how time and space work. And we're talking at an Olympic and professional level now. And the thing is that kind of summating here everything we've talked about, it's like, guys, the kid that's doing the work off the ice when they're away from the rink is typically the kid that's going to really succeed, right? So I'm not saying the competition doesn't matter. It does, but I don't think it really matters that much until you're over 14. And then even then, I don't know if it matters as much as we think it does. Give me the kid that is shooting pucks in their garage and puck handling outside and doing it on their own because they love to do it or they're pushing themselves to be the best version of themselves. That's typically the kid that's going to succeed later on. Mike makes a fantastic point. There is such a hockey culture issue with what is real talent. If a kid can go up and down the ice and score it well, there is talent there. If that kid can help their teammates score, now we're talking about talent. If they can see the ice and find the ice and understand that, like, that other kid I play with really has no shot, like the hockey shot, all right, but I'm going to get them the puck because I want them to get better at their shot. Now we're talking about a skill set that we don't talk about enough, being a great teammate, finding that open ice, all right? The amount of players that I see that make really bad hockey decisions because they have the quote-unquote skill blows my mind. So, Hayley, I'm going to throw this to you because, again, you've talked about this on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Away from the rink, you were doing a lot when you were a kid, a lot to work on your game. At the rink now, again, I think I know I'm gushing a bit. I think cognitively you're one of the most brilliant players in the league. I really mean that. All right, like the efficiency. And I want the kids listening to hear me. The efficiency that you have on the ice with your decision making should be studied. All right, every decision you make is efficient as hell. All right, you didn't just get that overnight. Right. So talk to me about, again, how your youth journey played into this, how you spent time away from the rink, and how that really helped a lot more than just the 2-hour drives to do it.
Yeah, I mean, at home, like when I was younger, we were shooting pucks outside. We had our backyard rink where we were shooting pucks. We were playing games. I mean, when it was summer, we were doing street hockey. I was also doing other sports, which I think that's a huge testament for me as to why I have the hockey IQ that I do. Like soccer, I saw the same patterns. Tennis, I worked on my hand-eye coordination. So I will die on those hills. Like
That's
those
awesome.
are huge to have other sports added in there. And then, growing up in terms of the efficiency that you're talking about, I would say that's been learned for sure. Because my effort was always there 100% all the time. But sometimes in hockey, that's not really the most efficient thing to do. And then you're just wasting energy when you didn't really need to waste that energy. So I think it's like knowing when to go 100% and
100%.
when to not, because that'll also, help you create more turnovers or help you create time and space for your teammates and open up plays and things like that. Because otherwise, like at times I was going 100% on the forecheck and then I had nothing else to give.
Right.
And I'm just chasing people around. It's like, that's not very efficient. So I think, again, that was like stuff I learned from like coaches doing video. They're like, hey, why did you chase this person here? You could have cut them off this way and things like that. So it's been a lot of like feedback and constructive criticism and me watching my own games and seeing like, hey, what could I have done differently there? I think it's a lot of self-reflection too. But again, it's all stuff I've kind of gradually learned probably from like college on, I would say.
Well, that's important to note too. You weren't doing that part of it at 9.
Yes.
I will say your efficiency has paid off, not just with Team USA, but I mean, you can see the role in Montreal growing and growing and growing, and you're being trusted in very important situations, which has been fun to watch as not just your friend, but as a fan.
I think,
you.
and I think that, my players used to get very, like, I think the parents more would get confused at that concept that, you got to think quick, but you don't always have to be fast.
Right.
Like it's just, you don't have to rush to get somewhere to do nothing. Like, thinking about why you're getting somewhere. And again, I think we're enamored by that in tryouts a lot with little kids. We're like, oh my God, look at how fast they are. And they get to the puck and I go, yeah, but they literally skated into the corner and got nowhere. Like, okay, they got there, but they didn't really, but the one thing I did want to mention too, just about, projection and where players go and how players proceed. I mean, the one thing I think we have to admit is, like, people do have to look at their children. I'm sure, Hayley, when you played soccer and tennis, you were probably the best player on your team. I got to imagine you're one of the best. Like, you had to be one of the better athletes. And I think people, that's just, at the end of the day, sometimes it just is what it is. You just see there's a young girl who's just better than everyone else. And then but then, like you're talking about, when you get to 18, 19, everyone's better. Like like when you get to that top of the pyramid, now you have to be a different player. You can't just be better than everyone else, because like mere mortals, the rest of the people around you are just regular people playing soccer, playing hockey, playing tennis. But then you have your really, again, it is what it is. Then you have your elite athletes. You have your players that no matter how many privates the kid down the street goes to, how many power skating classes, how many shooting programs they go, how much street hockey they play with you, they're never going to be you. They're just not going to get better. They just aren't. So I think sometimes parents have to be willing to look at that and say, what is then more important? Driving and driving and driving for something that's unattainable, or creating this other great person that if in fact they can continue to play, they can find ways to play at the next level, but ultimately they're just a great human being. So I think that's a really hard thing to struggle with, though, when you're trying to crystal ball who your kid's going to be when you're 9 years old.
I was just saying, I'm just going to throw the caveat in, and no one will know this at 9. You will not know. You're not going to know this at 9 years old. I have seen a lot of amazing 9-year-old athletes that by 13 are not doing anything. All right. And there's a lot of different reasons.
Right. But I've rarely seen like horrendous kids that can't catch a ball and skip and jump become an Olympian. It's just like, so, I mean, it is
spectrum.
Like, yes, there's plenty of players that were great, young, and fizzled out, but there's even less of those people that were horrendous athletes and made it to the Olympics. Right. It's just, so just, at some point you got to evaluate and say, okay, who is my kid, and how does genetics play into this? No matter how many private lessons are in the world, or how many car trips I want to take for 2 hours. So there's a big piece of that you have to have a discussion about in reality. But I know nobody will listen to that, and they'll put their kid in the car for 2 hours. So if
they are listening, Mike, they are listening.
Literally, you're going to do that. What do you win? And they don't listen to the show anyway. But if you're gonna do that, what are you doing to make sure that your daughter or son or whoever is like in the healthiest place they can be, to have that dream and go for it?
Well, before we close this out, I do want to have a discussion, because I promised it in the open, and we're getting up on our time here, just about the coach factor and the importance of coaches. I'm going to start this by saying this. In youth hockey, you will have some amazing, really fantastic coaches. They're going to teach you everything. You're also going to have some really horrible coaches that maybe aren't great. Now, you won't have as many of those as you think. And you're also going to have some very mediocre coaches that are kind of just there to coach, and they're just there volunteering their time, and they're doing the best they can. And I want everyone listening to understand this. You will learn from every one of those coaches. So, sometimes you're going to learn because they're teaching you good things. Sometimes you're going to learn by how bad they are. All right. But it's your responsibility to be accountable to learn from what you like and you don't like. All right. So, it's funny when I think about my own coaching philosophies, a lot of it, I even wrote this in a dedication in one of my books. A lot of my coaching philosophy was built from what I didn't like, what I saw when I was a kid. I didn't like the way I was coached. And I'm at a place now where I'm actually thankful that I experienced that, because now I have an awareness of why I don't want to do it that way. All right. And yes, it will be unfair at times. You will not get the ice time that you want. You will not get the positions that you want. You will not get the things that you want. That is part of life. So when it comes to coaches, you can learn from every single coach that you encounter from that experience. Now, with that said, if you do find a coach that you really love and it's really great, that's fantastic. Do you want to follow that coach around the country if they're going to different places? To me, that seems a little bit extreme. All right. Because the truth is this, and Hayley, this is where I'm going to throw it to you, right? When you look at coaching at a high level, and I think this can apply to the young levels, you don't want just one coach forever, because that's just going to be one perspective and one attitude. You want it from a lot of different places, right? I imagine when you train, not just the regular season, not just the Olympics, but you're looking for people that have something to give you, right? Like you're looking for value.
Absolutely. And I think I've learned a lot from having different coaches. And like you said, it's like you learn what you don't like, what you do like. And like some of even your favorite coaches might have little things you wish you could tweak a little bit, right? Like it's not always like the perfect coach. Like there's always something, and every player is different in what they need and what they can get out of certain coaches. So I think it's a lot about that kind of relationship as well. But I know I always enjoy having different coaches, like especially in the summer too. I like to have like a fresh perspective as well, and be like, hey, what do you see here? And like, what can I incorporate into my game? Maybe stuff that is being overlooked by coaches you're with every single day. Maybe there's something that they notice that they're just watching film and they go like, hey, I just noticed this. Like, and maybe your coach with your team is really focused on the team as a whole and maybe not looking at you as much as an individual. So I think Having different perspectives is good. And I do think you can learn from any coach that you have, like you were saying.
Yeah, and here's another funny thing about it, right? Who may be the best coach in the world for you might be the worst coach in the world for somebody else. Like Mike will laugh at this. I have been told on teams, you are the best coach my kids ever had, which is the most wonderful thing to hear. But I've also on the same exact team been told, I don't really like the way you coach my kid. Same exact right? So like that's what we deal with as coaches, right? Because the truth is not everybody's cup of tea. It's just the truth. All right. And it's my job to try and motivate everybody a little differently. But I'm not everyone's favorite coach. I'm okay with that. Like that's okay. So I'm saying this because the perspective on coaching is just, you got to remember, like, of all the registered players in the world, they all like a different version of a different coach all the time. It's not relative, right? Mike, I'm sure that's happened to you a few times where
this morning. I think it's like, listen, you're going to get, I taught even the coaches I work with now and the guys we mentor. And it's just like, listen, if you have a 20 player roster and there's 3 or 4 people that don't like you and don't like what you do, count that as a victory. Like just chalk it up as, wow, that's great. Like it just, again, and there's a big difference between not liking somebody and not respecting them or not, and coaches look at players differently. They look like one coach can see a player and see a kid that can help them win hockey games. Another coach sees a player and is like, like this player just doesn't do it for me because they don't want to play the way I need them to play. That's all fine. I think but at 9, I think ultimately you just want to find the person that's the best person that wants to be out there and have the most fun. I mean, there's nothing at 9 years old. There's no system. There's no secret play. There's no like thing you're going to be able to teach somebody that's going to make them, change the game of hockey for the rest of their life. It's just not going to happen.
Well, I can tell you right now, at 9 years old, if your kid's 9, this is what you want to hear your coach say when you ask, hey, what are you going to be working on this year? Skating. That's basically the answer. What are you going to be working on this year? Skating. Anything else? Mostly skating. That's the answer. Okay. Yeah. Of course you're going to work on other things. All right. But at 9 years old, you are still in an extreme fundamental phase. Right. Like I hope they understand offsides at that age. Right. We've had parents like, hey, tell me about the power play you're getting on. What?
What league are you going to be in? What league are you in? Does it really matter? The same crappy 9-year-olds that live here in town are the same ones you can play down in Philly. I said, they're all the same. I said, so what is there's no, and again, find a coach that knows how to be creative with the group they have and can find ways to develop them in any environment. Like if you have somebody that, listen, if you have, again, this person, whether they could be a coach that has 1,000 banners, but if they show up at the rink at 7:59 and leave at 9:01, it's probably not the best coach for you.
I don't love it.
Find somebody that wants to be involved with your kid, that wants to love being on the ice and doesn't bring baggage with them, and just find a way to get them to be 10-year-old hockey players.
And how about, I think we need to say this too. This is true at every age, but especially at the younger ages. We have to remember, parents, you got to remember, coaches are teachers. Like we call them coach, right? But like when I look at myself, I am a teacher of the game. That is very much how I view it. And that's at every level. I love teaching the national team I coach hockey. Now it's extremely advanced. We're not teaching them, basic fundamentals. I should say most of the time. We do get into them sometimes. All right. But like, I love teaching. I love exploring that with the kids I coach of let's teach you something. That's something I would actually look for. Ask that question. Is this coach a teacher? All right. Because if they're just tactical and they're playing chess and they're just caring about winning, they're not really teaching. They're managing. Okay. And look, I'm not saying that those are bad coaches at some, levels as well. Like, hopefully it's a good mix across the board. But look for someone who's excited to teach your kid and not frustrated that your 9-year-old doesn't know how to take a slap shot. Why would you need that at 9? Okay, that's a whole nother episode, right? But yeah, look, having multiple coaches is part of the process. That's what you want to do. Hayley, you said it perfectly, right? It's like you seek it out. You seek out the knowledge, and you're willing to absorb from good and bad experiences to know what's best for you. I think that's really important. I think at the end of the day here, folks, look, we always say it. Like there's no path. There's no perfect path in hockey, right? And that I think we talk about FOMO a lot. I also think there's like a fear of making the wrong decision,
Mhm.
right? And what I always tell the people is that I say this to my players too. Look, live with your decision. Make a decision, live with it, and learn from it. Not every decision is going to be right. Okay. And that's okay. I can also say that it's highly, extremely unlikely that any decision you make is going to be the be all end all decision of your hockey life. Right. Because like the truth is if your kid is talented enough, wants it enough, and they, that's their path, they'll find a way to make it work. Hayley, you've talked about it before, right? I'm sure there were points in your career. I know you were driven to make it, but I'm sure there's points you're like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Right?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
I mean, every Olympic camp, I'm sure you have to deal with that, right? Like, am I going to make the team?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So those are things to think about too. All right. Development's going to happen in multiple environments, my friends. It's not limited to one. And again, just to go back to the letter, I think I said it before. I would not travel 2 hours at that age. I think you've got two great options at home. I don't think there's anything wrong with your daughter playing co-ed, by the way. I think that could be of a huge value and asset. The fear was, will she be evaluated correctly? That's very much outside your control. I mean, just go do it and see what happens, right? I think that it's pretty well documented that playing co-ed, and you can, at least in my area, you can do both. You can play on two different teams with that scenario. Yep. Play co-ed, play girls, do both. All right. And above all, please ask your kid what they want to do. All right, parents, it really sounds funny saying it. They really should have a say in the decision about their life and where they're playing. Right? Yeah. Anybody have any final thoughts before I close this out?
No, I think you're hitting on all these points that I think whether you're co-ed or boys, girls, whatever, 9 is 9. And just find a great environment to be in. And even if you're not evaluated properly at 9 and you get, put on the second team or whatever it is, just then reevaluate where you're at and make the best of that situation and get through that, that 8-month period, and then look and say, okay, what is it and ask those real tough questions. Don't be shy to ask. Okay, I got put on the second team. I wasn't evaluated probably. Was it because she's a girl? I really doubt it. I think it's probably just based off of somebody said, okay, well, this is the team and the makeup we want, and here's what we're going to be looking for in the future. And then you could say, oh, next year, maybe being on a girl, maybe my skill set and the attributes I bring are better for just a girls team. I don't know. It's just but again, it's not the one evaluation and the one placement. It's certainly not going to determine the rest of your career.
Hayley, I wanted to ask you this too, and like I said, I'll end it, is that I imagine in your experience, and you worked hard. You talked to us on many episodes about how hard you worked, but you always wanted to go back to the rink, even when it was hard. I'm not talking about the time like I was sick and I didn't feel like going. I'm saying at the end of the day, you still want to be at the rink every day, right? And that's kind of the thing that parents have to learn to cultivate. And, Hayley, I'd be interested to know about like your father. Again, you told us how your father would push you to shoot in the garage, and your father would push you to kind of find ways to practice the game away from the rink. I'm interested in your thoughts on how that experience with your dad and that experience with your family still kept you wanting to come back to the rink.
Yeah, it's funny. I always kind of attribute it to the balance I had between the two, because my dad was always super intense, like on me, making sure I was like working out or playing a sport or doing something active like at home. And then I had like my mom who didn't really know much about sports and was just kind of like, you're amazing, good job, keep going, like my little cheerleader. So I had those two to kind of balance me out at times, because I think it did get overwhelming at times. I think I would get, I wanted to be perfect out there and feeling like if I wasn't perfect, I wasn't trying hard and things like that, when obviously I was trying very hard. But I think what always kept me back was just like the bonds that I made with my teammates, the trips that you took, the hotel sleepovers, at our house, we had people come over to play on our backyard rink, and, all of those relationships, those are all the memories that I keep. And I know that kind of kept me in the game, that kept me excited to continue to play hockey, even when it was maybe difficult or just hard in any way, shape, or form. So that's what I always went back to. And so that's why I'm just a huge advocate in terms of like the social aspect of it.
It's amazing. I'm glad I asked the question, because your answer is amazing. It's like, even when we interview anyone, it's the people, it's the environment, it's the community, right? It's the game too. It's part of it, but it's part of an equation.
Yep.
Right. So to the parent who wrote this letter, like, yeah, I think that's got to weigh in. Like, where is she going to enjoy the game the most? Right. And look, maybe it is 2 hours away. Like, that's a decision you have to make as a family. Please don't do that to whoever. Listen,
I don't recommend.
No, highly say no to that. 0 out of 10. I just want to say this in closing, gang. Listen, remember, when you have to make what feels like a major decision in hockey, really, for the most part, 99% of these decisions, you're not choosing someone's future. You're choosing an experience. Right? It'll impact your future, but it's not the be-all, end-all decision of a hockey life. All right? You're going to be faced with 1,000 of those decisions, okay? And really, it's the culmination of how you navigate them all that gets you where you are. All right? It's not just one. So this has been a really great discussion. And I do love, folks, how we can, get this letter about a 9-year-old, but we can kind of explore the entire, age group, because a lot of these questions we get about really young players do apply at other ages in different ways, right? So it's cool that we can explain that. And Hayley, thanks so much for your perspective as always. We love having you here. Mike, you're here too. No, I appreciate you, Mike. Yeah, thanks for being here, Mike. All right. That's going to do it.
I'm glad I could contribute.
You did, Mike. You did contribute today. That's going to do it for this edition of Our Girls Play Hockey. I'm Lee Elias with Mike Benelli and Hayley Scamurra. And remember, if you have questions or you want to write us a letter, you can email us at team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. Or, as we're always evolving, now you can, as always, text us using the link accompanying the description. But you can also now send a voice message. And the good people over at Buzzsprout who host our podcast, we can actually text you back. So we've got a lot more going on here, but we love hearing from you. If you've got a question about girls hockey, youth hockey, anything, got a question for Hayley, send it over, because we love putting these up on the air. But that's going to do it. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of Our Girls Play Hockey. Take care, everybody. Have fun. Play hard. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.